Do you want to learn a new language? Well, the best way to do it is to uproot your entire life, drop yourself in the middle of a new country, and just figure it out from there. But if you're not ready for that, you can still learn a new language the second best way. That's with Babbel. Because Babbel is focused on actually helping you have conversations, you'll be ready to talk wherever life takes you. That's why I love using Babbel to supplement my German lessons. I may not be ready to have a whole conversation in German, but I can order a latte with oat milk. And listen, that's so important. Here's a special limited time deal for our listeners. Right now, get up to 60% off your Babbel subscription, but only for our listeners at babbel.com/weirdest. Get up to 60% off at babbel.com/weirdest, spelled BABBEL.com/weirdest. Rules and restrictions may apply. Support for today's episode comes from Honeylove, a brand that has absolutely revolutionized the wireless bra game. For a limited time only, you can get Honeylove on sale. Get 20% off your entire order with our exclusive link, honeylove.com/weirdest. Support our show and check them out at honeylove.com/weirdest. Honeylove's best-selling crossover bra is so comfortable, it's absolutely going to be your new go-to. It gives all the support of traditional bras without using any uncomfortable underwires. Honeylove is not just supporting women, it's empowering women. Treat yourself to the best bras on the market and save 20% off at honeylove.com/weirdest. Use our exclusive link to get 20% off, honeylove.com/weirdest, to find your perfect fit. After you purchase, they ask you where you heard about them. Please support our show and tell them we sent you. Elevate your comfort, elevate your style with bras that empower your lifestyle of flexibility. Yesterday, I had to absolutely tear apart my apartment to find my missing wallet. I'm sure you know what that's like. You can save yourself that anxiety by stocking up on tile trackers. Just attach a tile to your keys, put one in your wallet, or attach it to anything you don't want to lose. Then all you have to do is use the app to ring your tile when it's nearby or track down its location if it's lost. Plus, you can link it to your Life 360 account, so you can use it to keep track of stuff, pets, family, whatever. Keep track of what's important with Tile. Visit Tile.com today and use code WEIRDEST to get 15% off all tiles. That's Tile.com, code WEIRDEST.
At Popular Science, we report and write dozens of science and tech stories every week. And while most of the stuff we stumble across makes it into our articles, we also find plenty of weird facts that we just keep around the office. So we figured, why not share those with you? Welcome to The Weirdest Thing I Learned This Week from the editors of Popular Science.
I'm Rachel Feltman.
And I'm Lily Dew.
And I'm Grant O'Brien.
Welcome to the show. On The Weirdest Thing I Learned This Week, we start by each offering up a little tease about some kind of fact or story we learned in the course of reading, writing, reporting, etc., and decide which one we just absolutely have to hear more about first. Then once we've all had time to spin our little science yarns, we reconvene and decide what the weirdest thing we learned this week actually was. But not this week, because this week we have two very special guests, and we are breaking format to do something very fun that I think listeners are going to enjoy. And the takeaway for basically every member of the Dropout cast is that this show can be whatever you want it to be, baby. So would you please share with our listeners who you are and what you have going on that got me to rope you into being on the show?
Yeah, I'm Lily Dew. I am the host of a show on Dropout.tv called Dirty Laundry, and we are premiering our 4th season soon. And didn't prepare a real intro, so those are the facts.
No, listen, watch this. Hey, folks, this season on Dirty Laundry, you can look forward to awesome pairings of all sorts of groups of people that know each other and are very excited to tell each other their stories. We've got stars from the past. We've got stars of reality television. We've got stars of Dropout. We've got stars from Popular Science. I don't know.
Grant showing me.
I ran out of steam at the end. Don't worry about me.
Just stars. Grant couldn't remember any of their names because he was drunk while he was filming.
Give me a break.
Give me a break. We have incredible guest couches from shows like Survivor, Star Trek Lower Decks. We have some internet streaming favorites from Smosh, Jetlag, and of course, fan favorites from Dropout that people will recognize from our other shows.
Stars. Awesome. Stars aplenty.
That's perfect.
Stars of YouTube.com.
That's right.
Amazing. Yeah, well, and for listeners who don't already watch Dropout.tv, it's a great network. And I actually only recently started watching Dirty Laundry because I have to
pace out my Dropout shows, because if I ever run out of new stuff to watch on Dropout, I'll like spiral. I'll have a breakdown.
You will run out. That's why there's 500 episodes of Dimension 20 for you.
Yeah, I
don't
hope
you worry.
not. But listen, but now that I've started watching Dirty Laundry, it has become a fast favorite. It's very fun. And yeah, I took some inspiration for today's episode format. On Dirty Laundry, folks try to figure out who is behind various salacious doings from the past, I would say.
Yeah.
Sort of.
Yeah, and our show is all about drinking and sharing secrets, so we thought it'd be a great pairing to come on and find out some historically significant secrets.
Exactly.
And I really like the way you put that, salacious doings from the past.
Thank you.
That's what we're about.
Well, and that's really what Weirdest Thing is about. So as different as these two shows are, we're meeting in the middle today, and I think it's going to be something beautiful. So here's how this is going to work. I have, for every little round of questions here, I have a short list of historical figures who may or may not be involved in the anecdotes that I will tell you about. And your job is to guess who's behind what.
And we're talking, these are very famous historical figures, or these are minor? Because we are maybe your dumbest guests you've ever had.
It's really nice of you to say you're breaking the format as a way to celebrate Dirty Laundry, and not just because me and Lily are pretty dumb and wouldn't have been able to offer facts if we came in just cold. So frankly, you're doing us a favor. You don't have to spin it like this is for Dirty Laundry. You're helping us out, and we appreciate it.
Yeah.
Well,
Grant has a BFA from one of the most debt-demanding private colleges.
Yeah, there are going to be a lot of questions about the group theater on this episode, because then I'm going to blow your mind with my Stella Adler facts.
So I did try to go with mostly pretty major historical figures. That being said, like, a lot of these are pretty deep cuts, as is the point of the Weirdest Thing I Learned this week. So there's really, it's not a quiz that the average person is gonna get a lot of answers right on. I think it's more about the journey. I'm gonna
absolutely
enjoy telling you guys about some weird stuff today. So I'm gonna send a list of names for our first round to the chat. Oh, great! I love how it formatted it like that. That's fun. Well, I think you can tell where those people are separated into different people.
Oh, yeah.
But next time I'll put parentheses or something in.
I'm going off the word president.
So for listeners, our first round, our list is Henry Ford, President Calvin Coolidge, Buzz Aldrin, President Teddy Roosevelt, and President William Howard Taft. It turns out when you go looking for truly bizarre stuff that people have done, presidents come up a lot.
Famous megalomaniacal perverts.
Bizarre
like
people
47
with,
weirdos who are on a
hands.
power trip.
Exactly. Okay, our first question. Who admitted to having a boot full of pee during the most important and public moment of their career?
Boot full of pee.
Can I guess? I think I have a guess.
Okay, let's hear it.
Yeah.
I'm going to guess this. I'm going to guess Buzz Aldrin, because I could see an astronaut sitting on the launch pad having to pee. In fact, I think this happened to astronaut Alan Shepard. You gotta pee, you're strapped in, you can't get up, and you just gotta let it loose. And in a spacesuit, I feel like it would drain to your boot.
Yeah, that is a great guess, and that is what happened. Buzz Aldrin at that time. These days.
Well, I didn't even get my guess in. Grant just accurately. I was going to refute that. I was going to be like, "Why in space the pee just goes up?" But Grant was right. Okay, well that was quick.
It doesn't go up; it goes out.
So these days, astronauts, they actually have to wear diapers when they're in their spacesuits. This is a problem people are still trying to solve. At that time, there was kind of a setup that was like, basically like they wore a condom to catch their pee, and something went wrong with I think when he was jumping out of the lander, it got jostled and he had just peed. So it all went down into his boot, And it was just sloshing around in there when he took his first steps on the moon. And I don't have
condoms.
a person to
what
attach
did the women
this to.
do? Haha, JK.
Yeah. The reason it's diapers now is because they were like, well, we have ladies in space now, so we can't possibly come up with a better solution. Just everybody wears a diaper.
It's called a menstrual cup for urine. How to get that around the urethra.
Yeah. Again, it's a problem people are still trying to solve today.
They can't be trying to solve it that hard. These are aeronautic engineers. They could figure it out if they cared.
I think that's extraordinarily fair. Yeah, there was also on Apollo 10, in the official transcripts for Apollo 10, there's a conversation about a floating turd in the spacecraft. I can't pin that to anybody to use in the quiz because no one ever admitted that it was theirs. But we do know that it happened because it is on the official record that there was a floating poop in the spacecraft. And yeah, that's just the dignity and glamour of spaceflight.
I forget which astronaut it was, but early in the history of the ISS, there was a woman who was being sent up, and which was a very novel thing for a time. And I think she was going to be up there for a couple of months, and the men who were outfitting the mission said, like, so how many tampons do you need? Like 200? Because men don't know. Men are lost at these things.
Yes, I believe comedian Marsha Belsky has a great viral song about this. They sent her up with like 600 tampons or something.
Yeah.
Insane.
Yeah, it's true. There were a lot of moments of them just being like, I don't know. And there are today a lot of scientists and physicians like ostensibly focused on figuring this stuff out. But like you said, Lily, I don't know.
No, I'm with Lily. They're not that focused on it.
They're slacking. Tampon technology has not advanced in like 50 years.
No, absolutely not. It hasn't. Okay, our next question is, who had a pet raccoon named Rebecca?
Of these same options?
Yes. Of Henry Ford, President Calvin Coolidge, Buzz Aldrin, President Teddy Roosevelt, and President William Howard Taft.
This is the Smoshcast of history.
Which one's Angela? It's Buzz Aldrin.
A raccoon named Rebecca.
Yeah, that's the clue I'm trying to work off of.
Such frontier shit.
Yeah,
Good thing I know absolutely zero background on any of these men.
No, I've got it. So let's see. Well, Henry Ford, was the raccoon Jewish? Because then we can rule him out. He wouldn't be on board for that.
Such a good point.
That's not something Henry Ford would do. I'm going to guess Teddy Roosevelt, because having a pet raccoon seems like some wild nonsense that he'd be about.
I will go with President Taft. It's an older time. Maybe he spent some time on the frontier. I could be so wrong.
The frontier? He wasn't anywhere near the frontier.
Twice? A long time ago?
But he was old-timey.
No, this is great. We're doing great.
He's mostly known for getting stuck in a bathtub.
Every man before 1900 spent some time on some frontier.
Sure.
That's true.
So
those are really good guesses. It is a president. It was Calvin Coolidge, who I think is known for basically nothing except having a pet raccoon, apparently. Rebecca, and this is a quote from the Library of Congress, she ran around the White House knocking over plants, unscrewing jar lids, cavorting in the bathtub, and generally living la vida loca. Again, direct quote from the Library of Congress. Yeah, people in Mississippi sent the Coolidges a live raccoon in 1926 so that they could kill it and eat it for Thanksgiving. And they said, that's weird. We are going to name her Rebecca instead. And she became quite a star. She walked around with an embroidered collar that identified her as the White House raccoon. She attended the Easter egg roll. She went on vacations with the first family. And then when Coolidge left office, she retired to what's now the National Zoo, where I have to imagine
I'm still
that she was
back
pretty...
on it was to eat for Thanksgiving.
I know.
What the heck?
Yeah,
Have you never heard of Thanksgiving?
Again. I mean...
Oh, good. Oh,
turkey
great.
isn't very good. So I guess I do get that, but... No.
Yeah,
Better than raccoon. I'm not. I'll try anything, but come on now. That's going to be a little gristly.
I think so. I think the Coolidges were probably right to say that Rebecca was better suited to a life of luxury as a pet than as dinner.
Apparently, only while they were in the White House. That is brutal. What, did they not have room in their big house for her after they left?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think I have no idea, but I guess maybe an argument was made that she had been, I think maybe somebody argued that she had been like a gift to the country, not to the individual Coolidge family, so that like they needed, once they weren't the presidential family, they needed to in some way like give her back to the American people who would wanted to eat her. So I don't know. I guess it was a compromise.
We don't see people giving their dogs to the Smithsonian after they leave the White House. We don't see Bo from the Obamas in the zoo.
Yeah, on behalf of the American people, hey, Calvin, all yours. Go ahead. Enjoy.
Yeah. Okay, so who very earnestly from the same list tried to save the world by going on a cruise? Went on a cruise with the stated goal to save the free world.
That sounds like some...
Well, that sounds like a rich person.
Yeah, some oligarch nonsense. That's Henry Ford off being some psychopath saying, I know what'll save everyone, me having pleasure.
Yes. I was going to say that sounds like a rich guy thing, but these are all rich men. I also was leaning towards Henry Ford, but does he want to save the world, or does he just want to save a portion of the world?
Yeah, how are all of these men defining the world? Because I think that's really going to come in handy here.
Yeah. Definitely stated intention was saving the world, but very, very fair that might have, subtext may have been the white Western world.
Now, it could also be William Howard Taft, because he, as a fellow gentleman of Ohio, he was a man of great many appetites. He really enjoyed the sensual things in life, and I could see him saying, like, I know, me sunning myself on the upper decks is going to take care of this whole thing. But I do think Henry Ford.
10 more things about William Howard Taft.
He is the only person to have been president and chief justice of the Supreme Court. He is a big old fella, big guy, real big guy is William Howard Taft, our heaviest president. That's all I got. And and he tried to save the world by going on a cruise.
Right. That's right. Thank you. That's just me trying to trick Grant into telling me things about these men I know nothing about.
You know what? This is a fun podcast. So I'm on board.
Yeah. This is so sad because when I was a child, my Chinese parents did make me eat dinner with the President of the United States placemat in front of me. And yet I know nothing about them. To be fair, it was just their photos and names.
I think I also had that placemat. And I only know anything about presidents when it's like exceptionally weird, because that's my job.
I like that you can learn them by their faces and nothing else.
Yes, I was like, this is useless to teach a child just how presidents look and the order they're in and no context. I remember thinking Nixon was a real cutie. Egg on my face.
That was the thing about Nixon when he was young, is he was like, ooh, who's this young, hot vice president? Dick Nixon.
You know, especially when you have a lineup of the entire crew, like comparatively.
Yeah, how much competition?
One of the cutest presidents.
Yeah, so your first guess was your best guess. It was Henry Ford doing some rich guy nonsense. Yeah, in 1915, he was like, we need a peace campaign to end the Great War. And he thought that a solid media presence could accomplish this in a matter of weeks. So he chartered an ocean liner to bring reps from the U.S. to go meet in Norway with a bunch of prominent peace activists. It left from Hoboken, and the Chicago Tribune was there and said that remarks varied from, quote, the poor simp to the savior of peace. He apparently offered Thomas Edison, who came along to see them off, $1 million to go with them. And Thomas Edison was like, no, man.
What a bunch of Davos nonsense. What a bunch of I know. What if all of the captains of industry got together? We'll knock this problem out in no time.
Helen Keller also allegedly declined an invite, which I think is really fair. And then, they had a miserable time. They got to Denmark in December, and only 8 college students came to meet them at the dock.
The worst college students. The Elon Muskiest college students of the day.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And this I find really satisfying. Ford stayed in his stateroom saying that he was too sick to get on the train to Stockholm like they planned. And then he quietly sailed home.
Monster. An absolute villain from history.
Embarrassing.
Yeah. Yes. Truly just an L.
That being said, nobody's learned their lesson. People are still trying to just media campaign their way to world peace.
That's really true. Yeah. I love that he was like, we just don't have the right fanfare around the idea of peace. We need to rebrand peace, and the way to do it is me getting on a boat.
It's so frustrating and so absolutely recognizable. Nothing ever changes.
Yes.
Yeah, it's true. The way to get the world to collaborate and improve is for me to get on a spaceship.
Yeah, what about my
right now.
brand? Maybe that'll solve it all.
Yeah. Yeah, what if I have a good time and that inspires other people to, I don't know, lighten up and stop struggling and also have a good time? Damn, Helen Keller was so right to knock out on that boat. It would have been
just
so
didn't
hard
hear.
for her.
I wonder I hope he also offered her $1 million, but that might have just been Thomas Edison. Okay, last question for this group of fellas before we move to a new batch. Whose favorite outdoor pastime was just walking in a straight line regardless of any obstacles they encountered? They would call this a straight line hike.
Psychos. These are all psychos.
That's belligerent presidential behavior. Just making a beeline for the Oval Office, making a beeline on a walk.
Hikes to me say Teddy Roosevelt. I'm gonna land on Mr. Bull Moose himself, Teddy Roosevelt. I'm dropping in facts I know to prove that I belong on this podcast.
Yeah. And so now I feel ashamed because I also wanted to say Teddy Roosevelt, but not just because Grant said it first and he's gotten all of them correct.
I believe.
Well, we're also Lily. Now we're also out of options, so there's lots of reasons to say Teddy Roosevelt.
Yes, but we don't metagame. We don't metagame on our
that's
game,
right.
and
That's
we don't metagame on this podcast.
When all of our wonderful guests
again.
join us on Dirty Laundry, we explain to them don't metagame, and of course this season we have the cast of Star Trek Lower Decks and Survivor and Jetlag the Show.
And of course, nobody ever listens to us, and everybody metagames.
Well, so I will say, this time you are correct, but it will not be the case in every line that every person has a fact. And there may be
Yeah, we say that to people too.
multiples.
It's never true.
Yeah. Well, I guess we'll just have to see. But yeah, Teddy Roosevelt, he was a real weirdo and a real outdoorsy weirdo. And he liked to challenge his family, spur of the moment, to a straight line hike. He would also call them point-to-point walks. And he would literally just say, here we are, here's the point where we're walking to, and you just have to keep walking. And he would say, over or through, never around. So like, climbing things, fording rivers.
Spur of the moment. This is such like alpha dog.
I know. I love he'd treat his family to it. Yeah. Oh, what a treat. Oh, yes, Dad. So, thank you for giving me a project to walk over a mountain.
Yeah, he doesn't sound like he was very fun to
None of these men sound like fun. These all sound like bad men. Buzz Aldrin is fine at best.
You're not wrong.
Do you want to learn a new language? Well, the best way to do it is to uproot your entire life, drop yourself in the middle of a new country, and just figure it out from there. It's called immersion, baby. But if you're not ready for that, you can still learn a new language the second best way. That's with Babbel. Because Babbel is focused on actually helping you have conversations, you'll be ready to talk wherever life takes you. That's why I love using Babbel to supplement my German lessons. See, German is a complicated language and the grammar is really difficult, and there are times when I'm afraid to use even the vocab that I know because I'm just so worried about saying something incorrectly. But Babbel helps me get confident using a few useful little phrases that go a long way. I may not be ready to have a whole conversation in German, but I can order a latte with oat milk and listen. That's so important. But you don't have to take my word for it. With more than 16 million subscriptions sold, Babbel's 14 award-winning language courses are backed by a 20-day money-back guarantee. So you literally have nothing to lose. Here's a special limited-time deal for our listeners. Right now, get up to 60% off your Babbel subscription, but only for our listeners at babbel.com/weirdest. Get up to 60% off at babbel.com/weirdest, spelled BABBEL.com/weirdest. Rules and restrictions may apply. Support for today's episode comes from Honeylove, a brand that has absolutely revolutionized the wireless bra game. Their bras feature supportive bonding that eliminates the need for uncomfortable underwires and unnecessary bulk. For a limited time only, you can get Honeylove on sale. Get 20% off your entire order with our exclusive link, honeylove.com/weirdest. Support our show and check them out at honeylove.com/weirdest. Honeylove's best-selling crossover bra is so comfortable, it's absolutely going to be your new go-to. It gives all the support of traditional bras without using any uncomfortable underwires. If you're looking for a more relaxed lounge bra, you should definitely try out Honeylove's V-Bra. It offers all of that traditional support you want, and again, none of the uncomfy underwire. Plus, it's designed to lift and separate, and it's got molded cups, so unlike some other comfy bras, you won't get a Uda-boob effect. Honeylove is not just supporting women, it's empowering women. Treat yourself to the best bras on the market and save 20% off at honeylove.com/weirdest. Use our exclusive link to get 20% off, honeylove.com/weirdest, to find your perfect fit. After you purchase, they ask you where you heard about them. Please support our show and tell them we sent you. Elevate your comfort, elevate your style with bras that empower your lifestyle of flexibility.
Okay, we got a new batch of weirdos. This next round, we've got President Benjamin Harrison, Napoleon, Henry VIII, President Herbert Hoover, James Joyce, and Queen Victoria. So first up, who commissioned an absolutely massive toilet? Like one of the biggest toilets.
I needed it. I needed that. That was important for me, okay? For my big deuces. Anyway, the situation here is I could see it being Napoleon as like a Napoleon complex thing. Yeah. As like a I'm little, but I can't have anyone know, so I need a really big toilet.
But if he got a way smaller toilet, wouldn't the perspective make him look so much bigger?
Lily, that's a fabulous point. You're 100% right for all of his portraits. Yeah, that's true.
This feels distinctly historical and royal, and I feel like if you're a president, you're coming into the White House and the toilets are Kohler, they're already nice, they're already set. You're not trying to redesign them. You're like, this is a state-of-the-art place. But if you're a royal, you're building like Rococo bathrooms and stuff.
I will give you a clarifying hint, which is that when I say a giant toilet, this toilet had 2 levels and could seat 28 people at one time.
Okay, so this is a kink. This is a scatological fetish.
Wait, so this is my toilet. Seat 28 people. I feel like it's gonna be Henry VIII because there's. Because I don't know, because everyone was weird about poop back then. Everyone had a very different relationship to it than I feel I do. Plus, I think he was like a big guy.
There was no like sewage system. I guess 28. I guess that's just a big ditch. That's just a moat that you and all your friends can squat around in a row. I will go, just to differentiate myself from Grant, I will go Napoleon.
Reasonable guess. It was Henry VIII. So basically at that time, yeah, Grant is doing very well, I will say. So at this time,
you can say it again if you like.
Grant's doing really well. So the king and other people who were of that station would literally, like, they had these plush boxes, like, covered in velvet with holes in the top, but they were, like, truly, like, hinged boxes that the groom of the stool, a very prestigious gig, would, like, carry them around for whenever they needed a toilet. But when they had a lot of people at court, including, like, a lot of servants, they needed somewhere for everyone to go. So Henry VIII had a building constructed that he called the Great House of Easement. That is real. That is actually what it was called. And yeah, it was a split level. It had 28 seats. It was basically just a plank with holes cut in at 2-foot intervals. It had a chute underneath that went to the Thames. Still required a lot of cleaning, though. And that was not actually the biggest English public toilet. That was in Cheapside, which was built with money bequeathed by Dick Whittington, who was Lord Mayor of London.
Everything you just said is so funny.
These names are all
Dick Whittington.
Dick Whittington.
Dick Whittington, who wanted his legacy to be a giant toilet for the masses. That one had 128 seats, 64 for men and 64 for women.
I'm sorry, why did the toilet have to be bi-level? Why did some people have to be pooping above the other people?
That's such a great question.
Space saving?
I assume it was space saving, and I also assume it was not literally directly above. I think it probably was sort of on a slope kind of situation.
I would always want to be pooping from above then.
Right.
Not in the splash zone.
Yeah. So yeah, Henry VIII, he sure built a big toilet.
But not for him. For the plebes.
Yeah, for the plebes. Okay. Who had 2 pet possums named Mr. Reciprocity and Mr. Protection?
Oh, were they there for Christmas dinner? These pets. Ridiculous.
Sorry, say the names again.
Mr. Reciprocity and Mr. Protection.
There is a James Joyce, like this is too poetic by half. Like,
yes.
take it down 5 notches, James.
Yes, a literary whimsy.
But you're right. It could also be like a Herbert Hoover thing in the Henry Ford vein where it's like, I know what'll solve the Great Depression. My 2 pet skunks or whatever.
Yeah. They've got Hoover blankets. I've got 2 raccoons. I forgot what animal they were.
Yeah, what weird thing are we doing now?
Possums. 2 possums.
Possums.
These are possums and raccoons. These are all animals with little hands.
Yeah, little hands, very sharp little teeth.
And readily available. You don't need to be sending them across the country. Like, go outside for a second.
You know what? For this one, a possum is the kind of the animal of the everyman, and President Benjamin Harrison, a man I've never heard of. He just sounds like a guy. Ben Harrison. Like, why would I remember his name? That's just like a guy I've dated in Brooklyn. Ben Harrison. Hey, what's up?
And you know what? As a guy from Brooklyn, a lot of them have pet possums. So I'm also going to say Benjamin Harrison.
That is correct. This is the one thing that anyone knows about Benjamin Harrison is that he had these 2 pet possums, which were also sent to him as a gift. And yeah, they named them Mr. Protection and Mr. Reciprocity. Really highfalutin names for possums.
Mr.
Yeah.
isn't a name
you used to just be able to give a president an animal back in the day.
Right?
They don't let you do that anymore.
I would love to give a president a possum in like kind of a like threatening way.
Yeah, I would love
it's a menacing gift. Okay. The next one is a fun one. It's one that I talked about in my book, Been There, Done That, A Rousing History of Sex. Who was really, really into their partner's farts? Like really,
famous.
Really into their farts.
This one is so famous, I actually do know who it is. Grant is nodding his head as well. This is some Joycean poetic.
Yeah, that's hey, my man's weird. It's cool. Jimmy's nuts.
Yes.
Thank God we don't do letters anymore. All our creepy texts over the iCloud are going to disappear, right? Those go away, right?
Yeah, that's been my experience.
Yes. James Joyce wrote the filthiest letters to his wife, Nora, many of which referenced his very ardent attraction to her farts, which is the only part of my book that I had trouble recording the audiobook for because it's just so filthy that I couldn't
need
really
help?
handle it. I managed, but thank you.
Did you read it in your own voice, or did you put on a character voice?
That's a great question. I think I blacked out, so I'm not really sure. But
let's practice right now. What would your James Joyce voice sound like? Just we'll
he was
spitball
Irish,
here.
right?
I definitely didn't do a character voice because I wasn't gonna just casually pull out in the Hachette book group recording booth my attempt at an Irish accent and also talk about Nora, his filthy bird, and her farts. But I love that for them. I really do. I love that we get to enjoy those letters today.
What's a choice quote from one of the letters? There was a lot of good ones.
Yeah, I mean, I think the one that sticks in my head is him calling her his filthy bird, because that's just what an endearment. And
A lot of time of him trying to figure out where fudge is made. It's around the corner.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Okay, I have another possum one. Who loaned
another?
Yeah.
The past is strange. It
was a different time. Who loaned their pet possum to some local children for good luck?
We have a second pet possum owner. I guess back then people were just getting pets from their backyard. They were not paying $2,000 for like Yorkie poos or whatever.
Who loaned their pet possum? That sounds like someone didn't like their pet possum and was trying to offload it on some kids. Which, fair. I wouldn't want a pet possum either.
I'll tell you, that sounded like an American fella. That's not sounding Queen-like. That's sounding like Herbert Hoover.
I'm with you. That kind of seems like the kind of thing like, well, we can't solve the Great Depression, but here, kids, have some of this.
Would it not be President Benjamin Harrison who we know has pet possums? That feels like a trick question.
No, Lily, we're metagaming. We've already said Benjamin Harrison. It's got to be someone else now.
Okay. President Herbert Hoover.
That is correct. This happened in 1929, and he had a pet possum. Unlike the previous pet possums, this is one that just showed up on the grounds of the White House.
Oh, no
Yeah.
How else do you get a pet possum?
Yeah.
When you go and look for one? No, it's just in your backyard, and you're like, get out of my vegetables.
Yeah.
Live inside now.
Well, and then they were like, we already have this pen that Rebecca the raccoon used to live in, so we'll just keep this possum. They called him Billy Opossum. And then a local high school lost their mascot, who was also a possum. And when they saw that the president had found a possum, they were like, President Hoover, we think you have our possum. They called the possum by name. He did not respond, which apparently meant it wasn't their possum. I don't know that I would expect a possum to respond to their name, but he magnanimously lent them the possum for their postseason for good luck. And
what's he gonna say to a bunch of high school students? Like, you have our mascot. He's like, fuck off. This is my possum.
there are some
This is my pet. I love him.
Really shocking newspaper photos of the president holding an absolutely feral possum that does not look happy to be there. Okay, our last one for this group is
we didn't want to talk more about possums. Sorry.
I mean, if you have more to say about possums,
we
by
should
all
bring
means.
them back as pets. I like them.
They're very cute.
I like them. They're also like, I really feel like I need to respect their distance because they like hiss. They're very, I don't know. I feel like they want
they've got
their
those
privacy.
teeth. They've got intimidating looking mouths. But I bet they're little sweethearts. What if they're
so cute.
One all rolled up in a little ball? Come on.
Yeah, I like they're like resourceful, and damn. We should go back to people should get pet possums again instead of golden doodles, which
Reject modernity, everyone.
Yeah, I'm sick of those dogs.
Yeah, I mean, like, honestly, maybe Biden would have been better off with a possum. Given.
Yeah, certainly
Couldn't
less
have
violent.
Okay, last one for this group. Whose penis is allegedly in New Jersey right now?
Queen Victoria.
Mine.
Okay, whose penis is in New Jersey right now? I mean, wouldn't that be true of anyone buried in New Jersey? Would be weirder if their penis wasn't in New Jersey.
That's a really good
Or
point.
if they're in Pennsylvania and just huge. I think I know this, and I think Napoleon's penis has been cut off and saved as a
party favor.
I think his penis has been making the rounds, which is one of many things he and I have in common. Hey now.
It's a traveling exhibit.
I think so. I think it's in like a jar or like dried or something.
Okay, now we know he was a man of small stature. Was he a man of big penis?
Great question.
Rachel?
Listen, both of our eyes are full of expectation.
Rachel, tell us, how many inches?
So it was Napoleon's penis, and certainly what remains of it is it's been described as being like a pinky finger, but in Napoleon's defense, it is basically like
he's a grower, not a shower.
Fruit leather at this point. But yeah, it was cut off and taken all over the world, and then a guy collected it who was a doctor who collected a lot of weird stuff. He had like
no, that guy? No.
He had like upholstery from the car JFK was assassinated in. So anyway, like exactly the kind of guy
that is
you
a
expect
stone
to be like,
freak. That is a weird dude.
You go over to his house, he's like, where do we start?
Yeah. And
I have a
apparently
piece of his brain.
he said he bought it to take it out of circulation. He didn't like that it was like a
now why
fine
was it
show.
for sale? Why was it? Who was selling it?
Who wasn't selling it? Honestly, it sounds like for several years. And yeah, apparently he like stored it under his bed in New Jersey and refused to let anyone see it. But then when he passed away, his family was like, yes, we can confirm we still have the penis. It's still here in our family home in New Jersey. So yeah, Napoleon.
How did it get separated from the rest of his body and preserved?
That was on purpose during an autopsy. Who gave it the doctor gave it to a priest who smuggled it to Corsica, and then the priest was killed, and it got passed to someone else. I don't know why the priest wanted it.
Yesterday, I had to absolutely tear apart my apartment to find my missing wallet. I'm sure you know what that's like. You're running late, you can't find something you need, and you just can't get yourself out the door. You can save yourself that anxiety by stocking up on tile trackers. Just attach a tile to your keys, put one in your wallet, or attach it to anything you don't want to lose. No special accessories required. Then all you have to do is use the app to ring your tile when it's nearby or track down its location if it's lost. Unlike some other trackers, it can even help you track down stolen items without tipping off whoever took your stuff. I've actually given tiles as gifts a few times because nothing says I love you like helping someone never lose their car keys again. Tiles are just so user-friendly and the app is so easy to use. Plus, you can link it to your Life 360 account so you can use it to keep track of stuff, pets, family, whatever. And if it's your phone that's missing, don't worry, you don't have to open the app. Just double press the button on your tile and your phone will start to ring, even if it's set on silent. That is a total lifesaver. Keep track of what's important with Tile. Visit tile.com today and use code WEIRDEST to get 15% off all tiles. That's tile.com, code WEIRDEST.
Okay, our next round of folks. We got a couple more of these. So we have, for this time, we have Lord Byron, certified freak, Mary Shelley, King Charles II, Eleanor Roosevelt, and President John Adams. So the first question is, who had a pet bear?
Yeah, a lot of people expressing their freak by just owning a pet, not able to express themselves in a way, just projecting into pet ownership.
Well, John Adams was on the frontier, so I feel like maybe it's
as we've established all Americans before the 20th century were.
It feels like an American man. Just there are a lot of bears, and yeah, right? Like Mary Shelley didn't have a bear. She was busy.
No. It feels like an American thing, but why not a brawny lady like Eleanor Roosevelt? Yeah, why not? Grant?
Why not Eleanor Roosevelt?
Why can't women? Can't women?
She was too busy lying to the public about her husband's condition, but that's something else entirely. She was too busy trying to take power for herself. Women. Anyway, I think it's John Adams.
I probably think it's that too, but I'm going to say Eleanor Roosevelt.
I was really hoping somebody would guess Eleanor Roosevelt because I think she would have had a bear if someone had suggested it to her. But
if someone had gifted her a bear,
she would have kept it.
She would have kept it.
Evidently, you can't refuse that. You just have to take whatever animal someone gives you.
So this was actually Lord Byron, and the story is that Cambridge told Lord Byron he wasn't allowed to bring his pet dog, and he was really mad, so he bought a bear because he was like, you don't have a rule against bears. And apparently Cambridge was like, fair enough, and he kept it in his room. And
in his room?
Yeah. I
what are we talking?
Struggled.
This is Red Panda?
Yeah.
How big this bear?
I struggled to believe this is really true, but Cambridge has repeated it. So maybe Cambridge just wants to remind people that Lord Byron went there and that he was a real freak. But
absolutely, they're like,
and that they have
where Lord Byron
Bud
didn't
rules.
have a bear.
Yeah,
Oxford.
This is at least a thing he did. How long Cambridge allowed it to continue, and how long he actually enjoyed having a bear in his room is another question. I suspect not very long.
Okay.
Okay. Who ate nothing but potatoes and vinegar for like several years to stay
That's
thin?
a Grant O'Brien thing.
Penn Jillette has a whole thing about he lost a ton of weight on an all-potato diet, and he gave it to Kevin Smith. And Kevin Smith swore by this all-potato diet after he had heart trouble, which is to say I don't know. So it could be a number of people. Potatoes and vinegar.
Potatoes and vinegar.
Well, let's use a little deductive reasoning. Potatoes, I believe, they're mostly grown. Well, they're mostly grown in northern
Potatoes are
climes.
Irish by race and heritage. Every vegetable.
Which maybe says not King Charles II, because I don't know that Ireland and King Charles are all that buddy.
Well, I don't know. I feel like you would have to be so tired and sedentary if you were only eating potatoes.
Yes.
And you're lacking nutrition. You're getting a decent amount of fiber. That feels like a King Charles II. I feel like a royal can afford to just be eating potatoes.
Jess also did a video about only eating potatoes once.
Oh, wow.
It was great.
And so you...
Like The Martian.
Yeah.
Okay.
Jess isn't on this list, though, so I don't think it's her.
Okay. Damn, should I be eating only potatoes? That would make it so much easier.
Lily, okay. Yeah.
Like The Martian.
I'm going to guess Mary Shelley.
Okay.
Because it seems like a weird arty thing, and she was weird and arty.
Okay, I guess if you are a royal, you have chefs that are presenting you more food options. I'm going to go again. Eleanor Roosevelt. She's a freak. One of these has got to be. She's a certified freak. So one of these has got to be her.
So this was actually Lord Byron again. He was really proud of his vinegar and potato diet. He was very afraid of being fat, of fat people. He was, extremely vain and anemic. And we actually know how much...
Vain.
He was also a big slut.
Anemic?
And we know how much weight he lost because there was a local wine shop in London where dudes would come in and weigh themselves on their big hanging scales. So they know exactly what Lord Byron weighed the whole time he was at Cambridge. And his health was terrible, and so were his poops, but he probably deserved it. So
the worst guys were at that wine shop weighing in, too.
Yes,
it was such a,
really
what a
bad
scene that must have been. Fights all the time. Just the worst kind of dudes.
Oh, God. That line of fellas waiting their turn must have sucked.
Absolutely. Okay, who had a pet dog named Satan?
Now that's cute.
Mary
Shelley?
I think it's Mary Shelley. She liked spooky things.
She wrote Frankenstein.
Yeah, she was spooky.
She was definitely spooky. This was actually John Adams. It's another weird president pet. No one knows.
What the hell?
Yeah, the Presidential Pet Museum has stated he had a dog named Satan. No one has any additional info on this. I really feel like it raises questions. He also had a horse named Cleopatra, but that seems more...
Now, do you think it was French? Satan?
Maybe.
Do you think it was...
Yeah, maybe named her after the soybean dish.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, hail Satan kind of Satan.
Yeah, I love to imagine a president today casually having a dog named Satan. That would be really cool, and people would be really, really normal about it.
I'm with Lily. I think it's cool. I bet that dog was fun. I bet that dog was a real scamp.
Oh,
Yeah.
I bet. I have to imagine that a dog named Satan was a little scamp indeed.
Do we know the breed? Jack Russell Terrier?
Nothing. We know nothing about Satan the dog.
It was a possum.
We know nothing about
Yeah,
Satan.
it was actually
His
a possum.
breed was possum. Yeah. Rachel, I gotta ask you, how many of these facts did you get from the Presidential Pet Museum website? Did you kind of just go and call it a day on that website?
Wow, this is a treasure trove. I am
Honestly,
set, guys.
I started with one, and I found so many. I couldn't pass up the low-hanging fruit. Okay, here's another one from a previous Weirdest Thing episode. Who attached a cage to the outside of their home so their baby could sit dangling out the window for fresh air?
I like this, and I actually bet this reflects like the best scientific thinking of the day in terms of germs and in terms of keeping yourself. Mary Shelley, did Mary Shelley have kids?
Dang. I thought you were going to say a dog on top of their car, and then it was Mitt Romney.
It reflected the best thinking of the day.
A baby outside in a cage outside. So I'm a new mom. Is that kind of recommended? Should I do that?
Not in a cage, I would say. Not dangling from a window.
What do you think a crib is?
But not dangling from a window. Like,
Yeah.
I'm going to guess, I think it's Eleanor Roosevelt because the Roosevelts are New Yorkers and getting a kid outdoors in New York feels like a big to-do. So I could see this being like a New York life hack kind of a thing.
I'm gonna try Mary Shelley because it seems wrong that we both guessed women, but I feel like men historically have been so absent from child rearing that you rarely hear about facts about what they do with their children.
yeah,
Hell
none
yeah,
of them were
dudes.
present to put their babies in cages that dangled out the window.
Dudes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was Eleanor Roosevelt. This was briefly a craze based on what was thought to be good parenting. Eleanor was ahead of her time, though. This was before they became like a mainstream invention. And apparently the neighbors kept threatening to call the cops on them because they were in a brownstone in Manhattan and the baby was like several stories up and screaming.
That's what I was wondering. When Grant said New York, I was like, they better have a balcony. Well, they're rich.
Nope, just hanging out the window. But luckily, everything was fine.
You know the Roosevelts had like NIMBY neighbors who were like, I don't like the look of that cage.
I don't like the cage safety. We have a safer cage. Our cage, BPA free.
This cage.
Yeah, our baby cage, no PFAs.
Who took medicinal drops that contain fragments of human skull? Just straight up another person's skull in their medicine.
King Charles, why you do that?
It does. It seems like I feel like kings have access to bones. I feel like this seems like a king thing.
Just citizens' bones.
It was King Charles, and he was also encouraged to drink alcohol from a cup made from a skull, which doctors also said would help him feel better after a seizure in the 1600s.
This is why you should never trust a doctor.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is the takeaway.
And I bet they charged him an arm and a leg for the skull.
Okay, last one for this bunch. Who kept a shriveled human heart in their desk drawer for years?
Lily.
Yeah, it's right here. That sounds like a little writerly inspiration. A little Mary Shelley, who this is my third time guessing her. It's got to be her. There's no Edgar Allan Poe on this list.
I also think it's Mary Shelley. This feels, if the person who wrote Frankenstein didn't have a heart in their drawer, what are you even doing?
Yeah, it was Mary Shelley. It was her husband's heart. Allegedly, he drowned on a sailing trip with the boys.
With the boys!
Yeah. And they promptly cremated him on the beach instead of, like, bringing him home, which I think is suspicious and presumptuous.
Yeah,
but
so he didn't drown,
with
is
the
what
boys.
we're saying. The boys killed him and had to do something about it.
The boys did a murder.
And then they were like, here, Mary, we're pretty sure this is his heart. And then she kept it in her desk drawer, wrapped in some of Percy's poetry for the rest of her life.
What an insane thing to hand someone. What to like, hey, this is your husband's heart. Little mishap on vacation. Just, we had a great time, but a little thing on the beach.
And that's why I don't let my husband go on any boys' trips. Because his friends are trying to kill him.
Okay. I got a new group of terrible dudes, mostly.
Or just weird dudes.
Yeah. Okay, so we got Charles Dickens,
this
Thomas
is a list of
Jefferson,
terrible dudes.
Emperor Nero, Genghis Khan, and Benjamin Franklin. Benjamin Franklin, I would say, is. I wouldn't go.
We don't know.
I wouldn't go to bat for him, but he's the most question mark. Maybe mostly just weird. Okay, who gets credit for inventing mac and cheese, even though they really do not actually deserve it at all?
Gotta be Ben Franklin, right? He gets credited for inventing all sorts of stuff.
I feel like, what, it's just cheese on noodles? What, they haven't had that since the dawn of time?
Really
Genghis Khan.
Well, actually, that could be because
Asians
noodles
invented noodles.
Yeah, that could be. I'm leaving it at Franklin.
Yeah, both very reasonable guesses. And the point is, this person didn't invent mac and cheese at all, but a lot of people credit Thomas Jefferson for it. What actually happened is that his enslaved chef, James Hennings, who was the half-brother of his wife and the full brother of his mistress, who he also owned, he learned to put cheese on pasta while studying in France. Again, cheese on pasta had existed for a long time, and he helped popularize the combo in America. And Thomas Jefferson told a lot of people about this. So if you go on the Monticello website, they'll be like, isn't it amazing how Thomas Jefferson gave us mac and cheese?
He doesn't want to.
Yeah. We got a lot of, when we did an episode about this, I got a lot of emails from older gentlemen saying I shouldn't disrespect the founding fathers so much.
Oh, an older gentleman sent you an email? Not an older gentleman with an opinion.
Yeah, unfortunately. Speaking of disrespecting the founding fathers, we do have some other facts in here. Okay, who evangelized the health benefits of a practice that they called air bathing that was actually just sitting around naked for several hours every day?
Well, now what's wrong with that?
I'm on board.
It's called air
vitamin
bathing.
D is important. Get out in the sunshine, everybody. It's good for you.
What, don't we all do that?
Yeah, that
What?
rules. Air
And this guy
bathing.
started it.
Benjamin Franklin was an innovative man.
Gosh, I'm going to say Charles Dickens because it's right there in his name.
It was Ben Franklin. He just liked to sit around in the nude, which obviously is great. But he really went out of his way to write letters about he was like, no, science will prove me right one day. It's good to sit around naked for your health. And I don't think he's wrong.
Yeah.
He also loved whores. So that's a nice thing.
He really
you
did.
gotta air it out. You gotta air it out after.
And he had syphilis, and
so
so
true.
I bet he needed
Who
to treat
didn't,
that a little
though?
bit.
Who didn't?
Something else Grant and Ben have in common.
It's very normal to sometimes have syphilis. It's okay.
It is very normal. That's why people should get tested. But also, truly, at that time, who didn't have it, honestly?
And what were they going to test for?
Yeah.
It fell off.
Okay, who on this list set a dress code for their own funeral?
Emperor shit.
Yeah, that's some emperor stuff. You had to have a starched white toga.
Yeah, I'm like, I could set a dress code for my funeral. My loser friends wouldn't follow it.
Yeah, I'm going to wear the same Nordstrom Rack button down that I wear to everything to your funeral, Lily. It's going to be great. You're going to die before me, too. Let's be clear.
Yeah, let's be clear whose lifestyle is going to lead to an early death.
So this was actually Charles Dickens. He basically gave people a long list of things that he said were too schmaltzy. He was like, don't wear a formal cloak or a black bow. He called those revolting absurdities. He basically was like, don't be a drama queen about it. Just show up.
Oh, he wanted you to come as you are.
Yeah, he wanted it real cash.
He also got paid by the word, so he probably had a whole bunch of rules that he was just cranking out.
Yeah.
I don't know, I'm gotta make rent. Like me when I write breaking news. Don't listen to it, Sam.
Okay, who do people on the internet like to claim was a furry?
No, that could be any of these perverts.
I guess that's
these
true.
are some.
I didn't confirm that no one has ever
yeah.
said any of these people were furries, but
Yeah. Oh, we're talking who has been speculated about on the internet. Well, that could be any person.
I'm going to guess Genghis Khan because I imagine he saw a lot of people dressed in furs for warmth and maybe said like, well, now, hey, I can look at all that ass inside those furs. I gotta get some of that.
Yeah, I could see that.
yeah.
Yeah, what Grant said.
Yeah, it's a good guess. It was Nero. And the reason I think this is extremely unfair to furries is because what we have written down from a few decades after Nero died is someone saying like he used to dress up in animal skins and like sexually attack people. And I'm like, that's not being a furry. That's a third different bad thing.
Yeah, you're focusing on the wrong detail.
Yeah.
The attack part is really where we should put our energies now, folks.
Yeah, but it
what he
gets
was wearing,
shared a lot.
Would it have been better if he was wearing jeans? Like, come on.
Yeah. And not actually related, who proudly admitted to chasing cougars, older ladies, not mountain lions?
Oh, I bet Ben Franklin. This feels like a pervy old Ben Franklin thing out in his air bath.
Yeah, just naked. Well, liking cougars. Well, we know who Thomas Jefferson liked. Yeah, I'll also go. Yeah, Ben Franklin. He's just a free-spirited guy. He doesn't need a younger lady.
You are absolutely right. He actually wrote
cool.
a famous letter to a friend about all of the virtues of going after older women. It honestly, it gets gross. It's a little, pickup artisty, but
he's innovative.
Yeah, he was certainly... He was a good pal to his friend.
Negging all these widows.
Yeah, he was basically saying they know how to be discreet. They're really excited for your attention. They've learned a lot. Less likely to get pregnant accidentally. And
that is so bleak.
But yeah, he was a real hound dog.
Point to the wrong part. What's wrong about it? Never mind.
Nothing wrong.
How old are these ladies? We're talking perimenopausal?
That's true. It was the 1700s, so we're talking about she's 38.
Have these women been living long enough to not be fertile?
Yeah, so true. Okay, we got a new batch and just a few more weird facts before I stop subjecting you to this. Okay, who was deeply in love with a pigeon? Sorry, I'm going to read out these names for the listeners. We have Jack Parsons, who is the founder of NASA's Jet Propulsion Lab, because I know he's not actually super famous. Nikola Tesla, Edgar Allan Poe, Rasputin, and President George Washington, who was deeply in love with a pigeon.
Damn, well, what is a raven if not a pigeon with a glow up?
Ooh, great point.
I'm gonna guess Rasputin.
I feel like it could be Nikola Tesla because he had cages and birds live in cages.
Are you going off of this based on the movie The Prestige?
Yeah. No, I'm also the car company.
Well, you are correct. Tesla was a very eccentric guy, and he loved pigeons. He lived in a hotel suite in New York, and he was known to keep his windows open so the pigeons could come visit him inside.
And so Eleanor Roosevelt had a place to put her baby.
Exactly. And yeah, he never married, and it's possible he actually never had sex. He was like an original no-fap guy. He wrote a lot about how like his genius was preserved because he like didn't dabble in any of that. But he once said, I loved that pigeon as a man loves a woman, and she loved me. It's actually very sad. This particular pigeon passed away, and he said that he felt his life's work was finished because he had loved her so much.
Hang on, you just said he never finished.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
Fair.
yeah.
Who is thought to have been killed as part of a voter fraud scheme?
Part of a voter
What's
fraud
that?
scheme.
Who is to have thought is so different, again, from facts. Is people online can speculate about anything.
I bet this is Rasputin. Because wasn't Rasputin right around the end of the Tsar times when everything was shifting? I could see this being like a...
You think they voted back then?
Well, I think they killed him. Well, except Rasputin and killing is a whole interesting thing.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say Rasputin because no one else makes sense. Not a damn bit of sense.
Washington.
So this was Edgar Allan Poe. He was found under very mysterious circumstances. It seemed like he had been drugged and he was in unusual clothes. And at the time...
Okay, that's just a good night out.
So it was right after an election. And in the 1800s, there was this thing that was going on that people called cooping, which was where... Basically, because people just showed up to vote in person, these gangs would get sent out to like drug people and make them change clothes over and over again as they drag them to different polling places to vote. Seems extremely inefficient, but I guess if only like 100 people were voting total, it made a difference. So anyway,
If they're
there's...
changing places, why does it matter if they change clothes?
That's such
They
a
can
good
show
point.
up in the... It's like they weren't there. No one does voter fraud right.
Not like we do it.
Yeah, we do it great.
Okay, we had just a couple more left. Who did doctors try to bring back to life with infusions of lamb's blood after they died?
Of what blood?
Lamb's blood. Blood from a lamb.
That's gotta be Rasputin, right? That's some dark arts shit. And while I only half know who Rasputin is, that seems like something that would happen to him.
That feels Catholic.
The blood of the lamb. That's right.
The blood of... Yeah, absolutely. It feels like some Christian bullshit.
And what does that tell you about these
I'll
five
also go
people?
Rasputin.
So this was actually George Washington. One of his friends and personal physicians showed up and he had already died. And he was like, listen, guys, it's cold out. He's still looking pretty hale and hearty. And I think if we just warm him up and pump him full of animal blood, he'll probably wake up. And for the rest of his life, he was like, people should have let me at that corpse.
Oh, they wouldn't let him.
It's debated whether or not this was attempted or not.
No, we have to cut his dick off.
Yeah. George Washington
We
might
meet at
still
New
be
Jersey.
with us today if...
Okay, this is the last one. Who on this list believed that their long-term romantic partner had been summoned for them by a sex magic ritual?
No, if this ain't Poe or Rasputin, who... I don't know. To be fair, I don't know jack shit about Jack Parsons. He could have been freaky deaky in the NASA Jet Propulsion Lab.
It was in Pasadena. I am going to say, you know what? Hey, Lily, this is the last one. I'm going to metagame it. I bet it's Jack Parsons, because otherwise, why would he be on this list?
Yeah.
And if it's not, I've got a question about why Jack Parsons is on this list.
Yeah, I'm just saying he's the only person on the list where you had to put who he is in parentheses.
Yeah, and if this is the last one, then you've got to explain. Then this isn't the last one, because I'm going to have a question about Jack Parsons.
So Jack Parsons helped found JPL. He was also a devout follower of Aleister Crowley. He did not see those as conflicting things. He was like, I want to go to the moon, and there's probably sex magic up there. And
probably.
Yeah. And he was housemates with L. Ron Hubbard. It was a very normal time.
Wow. Honestly, he's such an LA guy.
I was just going to say.
He's just like the girlies in Silver Lake at Erewhon.
Yes. And yeah, he and L. Ron Hubbard were trying to conjure up the goddess of sexuality that Aleister Crowley had like prophesized. And then coincidentally, a woman named Marjorie Cameron, whose friends and brothers worked at JPL, she got invited to come see the house they lived in because it was like architecturally significant. And when she walked in and she was hot, Jack Parsons was like, okay, seems like it worked. And then apparently they proceeded to have like marathon sex for 2 weeks trying to get something magical to happen. And I guess maybe it did. But yeah, NASA has really tried to get people to not pay attention to how Jack Parsons was not just a freak, but an occult freak.
I think that's the wrong PR strategy. If I was NASA, I'd we're not going to space that much anymore. Maybe if we all thought that there was a magic sex goddess up there, we'd put our back into it a little more than we are right now.
That is so true. Well, those are all of the weird facts I have for you today. You both did extremely well with this very silly game. Thank you so much for coming on. And would you remind...
We have a weird fact for you.
Oh, great.
Dirty Laundry
please.
is premiering on Dropout. Oh, no. Coming up.
When? Do you know the date? They didn't tell me the date. That's what tripped me up the first time. I said,
it's soon.
I don't know when it comes out.
August 13th on Dropout.tv. You can see the premiere of Dirty Laundry. There's going to be weird facts about everyone on the couches. There's going to be a lot of guessing that goes on there.
There's going to be a lot of historical guests. We've got Edgar Allan Poe, Benjamin Franklin,
Buzz Aldrin's pissy boot. We got all sorts of great guests this season.
The Weirdest Thing I Learned This Week is produced by all of our hosts, including me, Rachel Feltman, along with Jess Bodie, who also serves as our audio engineer and editor extraordinaire. Our theme music is by Billy Cadden. Our logo is by Katie Beloff. If you have questions, suggestions, or weird stories to share, tweet us at weirdest_thing. Thanks for listening, weirdos.